Welcome to this explainer. Today we are diving into the ultimate ancient mystery, how the Great Pyramid was actually built. For decades, we've looked at these incredible monuments and wondered how on earth a civilization 4,500 years ago pulled off such a staggering feat of engineering. So today we're treating this like history's greatest cold case, and we're going to break it down simply like I'm teaching a total beginner, so we can finally understand how they did it.
Okay, let's open the evidence files. First, we'll look at the sheer scale of this mystery, then check out their ancient logistics, explore three main ramp theories, dig into some modern scanning tech, and finally, piece the whole puzzle together.
All right, Section 1, the ultimate construction mystery. Let's look at the sheer scale of this ancient crime scene. To really wrap our heads around this, we need a real-world example. So how do you actually move a 2.5-ton block without modern machines? To put that in perspective, imagine trying to lift a modern SUV. Now imagine doing that without a crane, no motorized engine, and not even wheels. And some of the massive granite slabs, those weighed up to 70 tons. The ancient builders did all this using only copper tools, pounding stones, wooden sledges, and ropes made from papyrus. Just how did they do this thousands of times over?
Well, here is where the math gets absolutely terrifying. They had to move roughly 2.3 million of these massive stones. To finish this massive project, during Pharaoh Khufu's 25-year reign, they were setting about 5 of these blocks into place every single minute during their peak construction years. Every single minute. It's a mind-boggling rate of production that would literally give modern project managers nightmares.
Which brings us to Section 2, Ancient Logistics and Waterways. To figure out the how, we really need to look at a manager's diary.
This right here is our absolute best piece of evidence to date. Discovered back in 2008 in a sealed cave near the Red Sea, this is the 4,500-year-old Diary of Mirror. It's literally a daily logbook written by an ancient Egyptian project manager. Because the papyrus was perfectly preserved, it gives us a day-by-day account of exactly how his crew sourced and moved that stunning white limestone.
To break this down simply, think of it like a modern delivery business. Micker ran his 40-man crew, called a file, just like a modern logistics or supply chain team. They weren't dragging every stone across miles of hot sand. No way. They actually used the Nile's seasonal floodwaters as a massive paved highway network. By utilizing canals and an artificial staging pool right at the base of the Giza plateau, they floated heavy shipments, again, some up to 70 tons, straight to the site. It was just incredibly efficient water transport.
And the people doing this heavy lifting, we really need to forget the old Hollywood myth of an enslaved, chained workforce. Historical records and actual graffiti found inside the pyramid show that these builders were highly organized, proud craft guilds. They even had team names, like the Friends of Khufu and, my personal favorite, the Drunkards of Menkaure. They operated a lot like modern construction unions, complete with group identity, specialized skills, and a huge amount of national pride.
Okay, so the stones have successfully arrived via the water highway, but how do they go up into the sky? Let's dive into Section 3, 3 main ramp theories. While there isn't one universally agreed upon answer for how every single block was lifted, experts generally point to 3 main theories that they probably mixed and matched as the pyramid grew taller. We've got external straight or zigzag ramps, internal spiral ramps, and some really fascinating hydraulic or water-powered systems. Let's break these down.
Now, the classic theory is the external ramp, where workers just dragged stones up a long straight incline. That works totally fine for the lower levels, but as you get higher, a straight ramp would eventually require more material than the pyramid itself. So architect Jean-Pierre Houdin theorizes they used internal corkscrew ramp. Think of it exactly like a multi-story parking garage hidden inside the walls of the pyramid. It's such an elegant solution for the upper sections because it solves that height problem without needing millions of extra bricks.
And the crazy part? Physical evidence actually backs up this parking garage idea. Back in 1986, a French team did a microgravitrometry scan, basically a giant geological ultrasound for the pyramid, and the results showed a lower density spiral running right inside the edges of the structure. It's this massive physical clue, just hiding in plain sight, heavily pointing to this hidden internal ramp.
But science is always exploring, and a more recent study suggests something even wilder, a hydraulic system. Researchers think the Egyptians might have used water pressure from internal trenches to literally push massive stones up through the center of the structure. Just imagine a reverse volcano, but powered by water. If that's true, it means they were absolute masters of environmental engineering, using the lifeblood of Egypt, its water, to do the heaviest lifting imaginable.
That brings us to Section 4, Scanning for Hidden Secrets, where we move from ancient theories to cutting-edge modern detective work. Since 2015, a project called the Scan Pyramids Mission has essentially been acting like a giant medical X-ray for the pyramid. By mapping the interior using cosmic particles called muons, which pass right through stone exactly like X-rays pass through your skin, they've uncovered some massive, long-lost secrets over the last decade. They found a giant, mysterious void in 2017, and then most recently in 2023, an entirely hidden corridor right on the north face.
The detective work to find this was just brilliant. First, they detected unusual heat signatures. Then, they tracked those cosmic muons to pinpoint exactly where the empty spaces were. After that, they brought in ground-penetrating radar, which helped them find a tiny joint behind the massive stone blocks, literally just large enough to slip a 5mm camera inside.
And what that tiny camera captured actually changed history. It took the very first images of the hidden North Face corridor. We're talking about a 9-meter-long vaulted space that absolutely no human has laid eyes on since the pyramid was sealed 4,500 years ago. It definitively proves that the Great Pyramid isn't just a solid stack of rocks. It has this highly complex, pre-planned internal architecture that we're only just starting to figure out.
So let's close our dossier and figure out what all this incredible evidence actually means in Section 5, Putting the Puzzle Together.
When we look at all these sources together, the evidence really points to a brilliant hybrid approach. To put it simply, the ancient Egyptians were master project managers who adapted on the fly. They relied heavily on that water transport for the delivery phase. Then, for the huge, bulky lower half of the pyramid, they likely used those traditional straight and zigzag external ramps. But as they got to those dizzying upper heights, they adapted, switching to elegant internal spiral ramps, or maybe even those hydraulic lifts to finally finish the job.
The ingenuity here is just astounding. They solved seemingly impossible physics and logistical problems with such elegant simplicity, using their environment, flawless organization, and incredible teamwork to leave a permanent mark on the Earth. It really makes you wonder, considering how hard it is for us to figure out their methods, even with all our modern tech, what achievements from our world today will leave investigators totally baffled 4,500 years from now? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the world around you.